Hello friends, Morgan Hibbs here with Linn County Farm Bureau. I'm so excited to be visiting you virtually for another Ag in the Classroom lesson. This month we are going to learn about byproducts, specifically a corn byproduct. A couple months ago you did Dress Up Like a Corn Plant, a lesson where you learned about the life cycle of a corn plant. Today we are going to review that life cycle and we are going to do a fun craft with a corn product from the life cycle of the corn seed that you learned about. So here is a ear of corn. This is field corn. You might remember this from our lesson, how there's different kinds or varieties of corn. We can use this corn for lots of different things. Can you think of one of those ways? Think back to that lesson where we dressed up like a corn plant and we talked about all the uses for field corn. If you want to raise your hand and brainstorm as a class, you can do that. One of the ways is to feed animals. Cows and pigs and chickens love to eat field corn. We also use field corn to make things like tortilla chips and cereal. We use this to sweeten pop and soda. We also use corn in over 4,000 different things in the grocery store, and we use it to produce ethanol, which is a fuel that goes in our cars. Now, when we are growing crops, there are primary products and secondary products or byproducts. A primary product is when we take the crop and we use it just as it is. So a primary product for field corn would be to take the kernels and go and give them to a chicken or a sheep or a pig. That would be a primary use of this corn. A byproduct or a secondary product of this corn would be to take the starch from the corn and produce cornstarch with it. So here today I have cornstarch. So this cornstarch came from this field corn. We can also have different products or secondary products like tortilla chips and cereal and the sweetener that we mentioned. Those would all be processed products from the corn. Example of a primary product, let's take tomatoes. A primary product for tomatoes is to eat tomatoes sliced up on a BLT sandwich. A secondary product for tomatoes would be to make spaghetti sauce or salsa. So that's an example of a primary versus a secondary product. Today's activity is a fun corn paint activity, and we are going to be making corn paint with cornstarch, which is made from field corn. And here are the seeds. You have one of these in your kit. Or if you don't have one in your kit, you can look at it now. Here is corn kernels that have been harvested from our cob. The corn was ground into a fine powder and the starch was taken from the seeds. This starch is also used in gravy. So if you like to eat gravy on your mashed potatoes, chances are there's cornstarch in it. We also use cornstarch a lot of times in soups. It helps to thicken the recipe. We have food coloring, milk, a plate to protect your desk, a popsicle stick to store, and a Q-tip to use as your paintbrush. Today we are going to be painting a picture of a family farm. Did you know that almost 96% of all corn grown in the United States comes from farms that are family owned and operated? It's true. So we will be painting this picture once we've made our paint. If you have not listened to our read aloud story, we have a video posted on our website or available on the lesson plan has a link. And that story is called From Corn to Cereal. I encourage you to listen to that video and to learn about how corn can be made into all different kinds of cereals and that process. Once you've resumed play from watching that video, you can go ahead and make the corn paint. I'm going to flip my camera around and show you the steps to make it. Today's corn paint, the different supplies needed is a cup of cornstarch, some food coloring, milk. If you don't have milk in your classroom or at home, you can use water, a Q-tip for the paintbrush, a popsicle stick to mix, and a coloring sheet. The cornstarch is a product from field corn or dent corn. Okay, what we're going to do is we're first going to add some milk to our cornstarch. You really don't need that much milk. Then you're going to take your popsicle stick. You're going to mix the paint until it's a paint-like consistency. So you want the cornstarch to be completely dissolved. Teachers or parents, you might need to help to get the cornstarch that sticks to the bottom of the cup. Once you have the mixture completely dissolved and the cornstarch is mixed all the way in, you're going to add just a couple drops of food coloring. It's important to keep this over your plate so that way if you spill, the food coloring doesn't stain your desk. You want to mix the food coloring in all the way. Then you can lay the popsicle stick on the plate. Take your Q-tip. See how there's two ends? You have two ends for a paintbrush, meaning you can use one side, and if you start to notice that it's starting to come apart or pull apart, you can switch to the other side. Q-tips are made with cotton, and cotton also comes from farming and agriculture from a cotton plant. If you would like to make different colors out of your paint, you can if you have different food coloring options. But if not, it's okay. It will still look awesome with just one color. So you're going to go through and paint your tractor. It's kind of a watercolor consistency. And I'm going to come over here and paint my grain bin. You can also paint the letters up here. And if you would like to, you can try to spell your name with the paint. But it might work best to write your name with a pencil so that way we make sure we know whose is whose. Okay. I hope you have fun making your corn paint. Remember, it's made with field corn or dent corn. And let's review the life cycle and we'll wrap up. You have these cards in your kit or available online. The first stage in the life cycle of a corn plant is to plant the seeds. Next, we have germination, which is when the seed begins to grow. Following that, a seedling, a stem with leaves will grow. And remember that flower on the top of the corn plant, that's called a tassel. Once the tassel is produced, pollen can drop from the tassel to the cob, and it will produce fruit, which is our kernels, the seeds of the corn plant. After the fruit or the seeds are developed, we can harvest the corn. Thank you everyone for watching. I look forward to joining you virtually next month.